Hey everyone, welcome back to K-Korner, the channel where we dive into the wild world of entitled people and their unbelievable stories. Hope you enjoy it, and without further ado, let's go. I, 31 female, am in shock over the throwdown that I witnessed between my mom, 60s female, and my entitled brother, 26 male. Bro has been mooching off of my mom and I. She and I co-own our house since 2017. He lived rent-free for 4 years. Finally, my mom managed to force him to pay his form of rent by paying some utility bills, a total of about $450 a month. Since 2021, he has never paid his bills willingly. Every month, he demands to know why he has to pay the amount and demands proof of the cost, as if my mom was trying to swindle him for some reason. And every time he has finally given us the money for the bills, he has told us he was bailing us out since we must be broke. Why else would we be making him pay for us? Recently, he has been going off about how he can't wait to leave the house, and he wants to save his money to move out, but he simply can't with the cost of all these bills weighing him down. My mother told him, since he is so serious about moving out, she will gladly pay for his portion of the bills. She works seasonally, and all he would need to pay was his car insurance. She said she would give him until May 31st to save up as much as he could. He would then need to move out. Since that agreement was made, Entitled Bro has gone on 2 trips out of state. One was a 4-day bachelor party in New Orleans. Has gone to poker nights with his friends multiple times, refuses to so much as wash a dish, and leaves a greasy mess wherever he goes in the house. Meanwhile, my mom has worked 6 days a week to make enough money to cover his expenses, and yet Entitled Bro hasn't thanked her once. Every time she asks him to do the simplest task, he ignores her or claims he forgot, despite how often she reminds him. Today, she finally snapped. His one bill that he's responsible for was due 4 days ago, and he never paid her. She texted him and reminded him verbally many times. She asked via text one last time today, and he finally responded by asking her to give him a receipt so she can prove his insurance costs, what she claimed it cost, and he never sent the money. She lost it and said she is sick of catering to him without so much as a thank you. She said she wants peace, and he is no longer worth the trouble she goes through. She said she is removing him from the car insurance tomorrow, and that he no longer has until the end of May to move out. He has 3 weeks. That's it. She's threatened to kick him out before, and hasn't gone through with it yet, but this time felt different, because I've never seen her go nuclear like that before, and Entitled Bro must have felt that same way, because he went through the 5 stages of grief about 100 times during that fight. He screamed, cried, accused, named, called, tried to pull me in to defend him, tried to pull in his dad, lives 2 hours away, to defend him, tried to call my mom's sisters to defend him, claimed getting his own insurance was an emotional burden, claimed she needs professional help because she is obviously out of her mind, said that she obviously doesn't care about him. Otherwise, why would she so cruelly deprive him of such valuable resources? He went on and on for 3 hours, and she didn't budge. I don't want to get my hopes up that she'll stick to that 3-week deadline, but this is the closest she's come to evicting him. I hope this will scare him into leaving before she has to. Cast: me, entitled mom, embarrassed daughter, cool dad, manager of the restaurant, and text dude who is a former coworker turned good friend semi-retired. Think the dude from Big Lebowski, add a master's in computers and electronics, a bit of mad scientist, shake thoroughly, and you pretty much have tech dude. Background: I am a field guy for a large communications company. One of the services we provide is wireless calling. I am not a customer facing just one of the many individuals who make it all work. I had happened to take a day off, though I did have my work phone on me, just in case. I also foolishly grabbed a zip-up hoodie with the company logo on the sleeve on my way out the door. Tech dude calls me up asking me to come grab lunch with him sometime when I'm in the area. As I was actually around the corner from his summer abode, I mentioned the restaurant down the way on the water because they have outdoor seating. I get to the restaurant. The tech dude is already seated, sipping on a Shirley Temple, clear lemon lime pop, grenadine, and a maraschino cherry to top it off, with another one set aside for me. Yes, we both enjoy these drinks. Maybe it's just the kids in us, but we're both driving, so no alcohol. I don't pay much attention to the other patrons, just head straight to the table, signaling the waitress I know where I'm going. After our greeting a big hey, how have you been, and ordering of the daily special, an appetizer is delivered. Tech dude gets down to his latest personal project, asking my thoughts along the way. My work phone interrupts. I answer with the company name just in case it's a test call, before directing the caller to a coworker who would be able to help them that day. After hanging up the phone, I hear a Fran Drescher, echo voice somewhere behind me, sir. Excuse me, sir, and suddenly feel a presence of a person behind my right shoulder. I turn and have to look upwards to see a large Karen of about mid-40s, complete with a haircut that could only be described as make my hair look like the body of a chicken, complete with backside, no feet, neck, or head. Standing about 8 inches off the back of my chair, I think to myself, woman, have you ever heard of COVID? Even though I'm fully vaccinated, I still don't want her looming over me in my personal space. Me, yes? Entitled mother, did you say you work for the phones? Pointing at the sleeve of my hoodie. Me, yes I do. Today my day off, but I might be able to. You need to help me right now. My lunch is being utterly ruined by my daughter's ex-boyfriend, and dramatically points to the daughter who is trying to hide her face with a menu. There is no one else at table. Embarrassed daughter, Mom, please. No, I'm going to get this stopped once and for all. It's harassment. Mom, please let those two eat. I can handle it. Entitled mother, no. These two work for the phone, and I'm going to make them stop this immediately. Tech dude, hey, I don't work for the phones, are you, lady? Of course, they wouldn't hire anyone like you. Tech dude shoots me a screw her look. I'm not able to help you. I am not customer. I demand you block him from harassing us now. Me, ma'am, I'm sorry you're experiencing this, but you need to call. Entitled mother, no, I won't call anyone. You can do it. I need you to stop him now. Even if I was working, I would not be able to stop him from calling her. I simply, don't tell me you can't. And he's nonstop texting, not calling. Me, seeing that my current approach isn't working, I'm sorry that he is doing that. You should advise your daughter to block his number from her phone. It would be the easiest way to stop his communication. Entitled mother, he keeps changing numbers. You need to. Poking me in the chest as she said, you. Both the tech dude and I stand up. I see the manager rushing towards us out of the corner of my eye. The entitled mother immediately switches gears. Oh, I see. Take his side. I'm a loyal long-term customer. I'm going to call your boss and get you fired. As if spelling out fired in a sing-song tone would change my answer. Manager, ma'am, you need to return to your table and leave the other customers alone. Entitled mother, oh, so he won't do his job and I'm the one who needs to leave him alone? Don't you know who I am? I'll have your job. The tech dude, manager, and I all share I have no flying clue who she is. Look, the embarrassed daughter has the menu over her head face down on the table. I truly feel sorry for the daughter. Manager, ma'am, you need to sit down and leave my customers alone or you can leave. Entitled, mother, I will not sit down. I can't enjoy my lunch because he, points at me, won't do his job. Again, doing that song spelling bit. Manager looks at me with a, is there anything you want to say? Look. Me, I'm sorry, ma'am, I simply do not have access to accounts. And the entitled mother tries to interrupt. And even if I did, there are very specific rules for making account changes. The entitled mother tries to interrupt again, but I keep going. I can't just block someone because you interrupt my lunch. She tries again but fails. Furthermore, if he keeps changing numbers to avoid blocks, that is harassment, a legal matter. I would suggest getting a no-contact order and recording any time he does attempt to contact her. The embarrassed daughter quickly walks off towards the front, trying to cover her face with her hands. What I can see of her face is a ketchup bottle red. The entitled mother starts again, and this time I let her go. Entitled mother, that's just nonsense. You just don't want to do your job. I know you can block him. Manager signals something to one of her wait staff, ma'am. This is your last warning. These two have been more than kind since you interrupted their lunch. I will call the police if you do not sit down or leave immediately. Entitled mother, fine, but I'm calling all of your bosses. You're all going to be fired. Then sing-song again. You don't know who you're messing with. I mean, really, my kids stopped that when they were 5. We all sit down. The embarrassed daughter is still missing, and I've repositioned in order to be sure the entitled mother cannot sneak up on me again. Manager apologizes and offers to move us inside while she checks on the rest of our order, but we decline moving. I noticed that all of the wait staff is staying off the deck, only the manager is coming out now to help with other customers, avoiding the entitled mother. The entitled mother obviously notices this too, and is getting more visibly unsettled, trying to bring other customers into siding with her. The tech dude sees me watching the situation and offers a hey screw that Karen, he almost never swears, so I know he might as well be saying she should see you next Tuesday. I signal the manager over and quietly request that she send someone to check on the embarrassed daughter. I was truly concerned about her mental state. The manager informs me that she has sent someone and is currently making sure all of her needs are being taken care of. Then she smiles and says she'll be right back. As the manager returns with our plates, the bartender with 2 uniformed officers in tow walks onto the deck. The manager nods and all 4 approach the entitled mother. From what I can hear of the conversation, the manager was the daughter of the owners, and they were going to permanently bar the entitled mother from the premises. The bartender comically takes a picture of the entitled mother. Then the police inform the mother that her daughter will not be leaving the restaurant with her. The cool dad would be picking the daughter up. This sends the entitled mother into orbit. She tosses out a few, "You can't do this. It's their fault. Don't you know who I am? She's my daughter," among other not-so-kind sayings, flinging her arms, pointing at us and getting louder and louder. Finally, there is a brief scuffle. She ends up in cuffs and gets lead out of the restaurant, complete with cheers from most everyone else on the deck. The daughter returns to collect what's left at the table. She approaches us, apologizing for her mom's behavior. Says she heard that I was concerned about her and thanks me for my kindness and says that the cool dad wants to pay for our lunches. We declined, but the cool dad did it anyway. In my first marriage, I was with a woman who had bipolar syndrome. When she took her medication, she was amazing. However, she eventually convinced herself that she didn't have a problem and stopped taking her meds. Over the years, I dealt with a lot, including her fake pregnancies and numerous lies. Holding down a job was a constant struggle for her, as she would only last a month or 2 before getting fired. Whenever she lost a job, she would blame everyone except herself. During the times when she was between jobs, I noticed some of my belongings going missing, like movies and collectibles. Although I suspected her, I had no concrete proof. Eventually, she started her own house cleaning business, using her exceptional cleaning skills and obsession with tidiness to attract clients. Despite her condition, she was charming and likable, and her business grew rapidly. I believe things were improving, and I was proud of her success. She even started earning more money than me. However, one night she didn't come home, and I was filled with panic. Frantically calling her phone yielded no response, so I reached out to her sister, who said, "I want to start off by saying it's not my fault." It turned out that when my wife arrived at her first cleaning client's house, the police were waiting for her. It came to light that she had been not only cleaning their houses, but also stealing from their jewelry boxes, purses, and other valuable possessions. Later that night, I received a call from her in jail. She was sobbing and begging for my forgiveness. I tried to be sympathetic, and she informed me that they would release her the next day on her own recognizance. The following morning, around 7 a.m., there was a knock on my door. Opening it, I found 2 uniformed police officers and a detective. They thoroughly searched our apartment and asked me a barrage of questions. I cooperated fully, answering honestly. When my wife finally returned home that night, she continued to apologize profusely. Deep down, though, I had already made up my mind that I was done with the relationship. Knowing how volatile her outbursts could be, I decided not to reveal my decision just yet. Instead, I began planning with my family to move out of the apartment while she was away. The first day of her trial arrived, and although she wanted me there for moral support, I had fallen ill with the flu. As I vomited into the sink, she screamed at me for not being supportive, making my resolve to leave even stronger. My plan was to wait until she was sentenced and then move out while she was away, avoiding any confrontations. However, she kept getting trial extensions, delaying my departure. One day, while she was at her new job, I called my father and brother to come over, and we quickly packed up my belongings. As fate would have it, she had forgotten something at home and showed up when we were halfway done loading my things into the trailer. She erupted in screams and tears, questioning why I was leaving her before jumping into her car and speeding off. I moved back in with my parents and began investigating further. It turned out that she wasn't just stealing from her clients. She had also stolen from me and my parents during her visits. My mother mentioned that some of her childhood gold jewelry had gone missing but hadn't wanted to accuse anyone. As I unpacked my belongings, I discovered that my entire collection of 12 Star Wars figures which I had painstakingly gathered over the years, was nowhere to be found. I later discovered that she had listed them on Craigslist for a fraction of their value. Additionally, I learned that she had opened an eBay account in my name and posted pictures of my nephew's highly sought after Nintendo Y during its prime, for sale to multiple people. However, she never sent out the items and pocketed the cash before eBay could intervene. And now, it was time for revenge. This is where the story takes a satisfying turn. Despite being a thief herself, she had unknowingly crossed paths with the wrong person. Me. After my ex-wife stopped appearing for court dates and disappeared from our apartment, I decided to dig deeper. Eventually, I discovered that she had moved in with the ex-girlfriend of a friend of mine. I created a fake Facebook account under a random name, befriended her new roommate. Soon enough, she started discussing my ex-wife as her roommate, confirming her whereabouts. I informed her that I had a collection of Twilight promo merchandise, which they were excited about, and expressed my intention to send it to them. The roommate readily shared her address. With that information in hand, I contacted the sheriff's department in their county and informed them that I knew where a fugitive with warrants was hiding out. They promptly showed up and arrested her on Valentine's Day. She ended up spending the next several months in jail while her trial proceeded. Eventually, she was convicted of 5 felony counts of theft and received an 8-month prison sentence. I don't want to speak ill of her, but my heart aches for the people she victimized. Some of the jewelry she stole belonged to individuals' deceased parents or grandparents. Instead of being cherished by their loved ones, those precious items were taken by her to make a quick buck. Oh, and as for my Star Wars toys, I want them back, you witch. Enjoying the stories yet? If you do, please subscribe, like, and comment. So this was back in college, at the local Walmart that is known for always being interesting. I have so many stories from this place. I swear this Walmart is like a Karen beacon. This story is a bit chaotic. I tried to write it as clearly as I can, but a lot was happening all at once. Some relevant info. I'm pale, and at the time I walk with a cane. I have a condition where my heart rate can get too high, my blood pressure can drop, and I can pass out from standing too long usually, but anxiety can bring on episodes too. I wear a headscarf on holidays and special occasions. Now, there are many types and styles of headscarves. On this day, I was wearing it in a style where it completely covered my head, and then draped around my neck and was secured with pins. I use dressmaking pins. They're not very visible in the scarf, but they do not have anything covering their pointy ends. I make sure I place them, so they will hold the fabric in place and not stick me. Since it is a holiday, I am also wearing traditional clothing, a long skirt, a white shirt with some embroidery on it, and a fabric belt. So I'm going around Walmart, picking up a few things. My backpack is in the front of the cart, so I don't have extra weight on me. I'm standing at one of those aisle ends. I was trying to find something and had to look up where it was on my phone. Out of nowhere, my headscarf is ripped off of my head as someone behind me yells, "Terrorist witch." Luckily, the scarf only had the end around my neck, so it pulled on my neck but didn't unchoke me. Still, this definitely activated my fight-flight response. Karen then starts screaming as I turn around. Apparently, one of the pins had stuck her when she ripped my scarf off. She is screaming that I'm a terrorist and that I assaulted her. She wants the manager and the police called, etc. This couple had been down the aisle and saw it happen and ran over. The woman kind of threw her sweatshirt on my head and got between me and Karen. I was panicking at first, but realized she was trying to help cover my head, and the man with her had also gotten between us and was yelling at Karen. The man then grabbed my scarf back and handed it to his partner, who handed it to me, and she took her sweatshirt and held it up around my head to sort of block people's view of my head while I tried to get my scarf back on. The Karen is still screaming that she wants the police to arrest me and how dare the man yell at her. She is digging through her purse to find pepper spray because she wants to spray me and the man. I honestly didn't even wrap my scarf properly. I wanted to get out of there as fast as possible. A nearby employee had come out of an aisle to see what was happening and ran off to get the manager, I'm assuming. The man is still yelling back at Karen and had confiscated the pepper spray from her. Karen is screaming that I'm a traitor to my own race, along with her earlier insults, and is demanding that the man pin me to the floor so she can pepper spray me and do a citizen's arrest and keep me there until the police and FBI arrive. So at this point, I'm shaking and crying. My heart rate is extremely high, and I know I need to leave or I'm going to pass out. The nice woman asked if I wanted to leave. I nodded. She grabbed my backpack and the arm that I'm not holding the cane in, and she quickly walked me down the aisle and out of the store. We just left my cart where it was. She asked where my car was, and I tried explaining that I'm a college student and have to wait for the bus. But I'm coughing and trying to breathe, as my heart rate is well over 180 at this point. The woman sees this and explains that she is a nurse, and I'm clearly not okay, and asks about my medical condition and what I need. I explain what it is, and that I need to lay down because I'm gonna pass out. She offered me to sit in their van, which usually would obviously be, no, but we are standing in the middle of a parking lot and I'm about to pass out, and currently my brain is not getting very much oxygen. She opens this side door and I sit on the edge of the car and promptly faint. I wake up a few minutes later and she's holding my wrist in one hand, checking my pulse and looking at her watch. I mumble something so she knows I'm awake and she just keeps telling me it's okay, I'm doing fine. After I recover a bit, I sit up and realize the man is standing outside the car. I think he was trying to give me privacy. I ask for the Gatorade from my backpack and sip on that, helps with the fainting, while he explains what was going down. He says that the manager showed up with store security and he explained over Karen screaming what happened and handed her pepper spray to the security guy and that the police had been called. I look over and sure enough, there's cop cars pulled to the front of the store. The man asked if I had been hurt, if I wanted to talk to the police. Honestly, I'm scared of cops and just wanted to go home. So I declined to talk to the police. The man then went back inside to talk to the police a bit more, and I tried to fix my scarf a little better. I had lost a few pins through all this, which was kind of annoying, so I couldn't wrap it how it was earlier. The nice woman told me my heart rate had been around 200 when I passed out, and luckily it had come down again quickly because she had considered calling an ambulance. She lets me know her partner is texting her and reads out to me what's going down back in the store. As it turns out, I didn't need to press charges. Karen was so infuriated that the nice man would help a terrorist to get away, so she got a bit aggressive. She was yelling at the manager, security, and the police officers when the man came back in. When she saw him, she ripped out her pepper spray and was screaming at him. The cop then grabs her arm to stop her, so she tries to pepper spray the cop but gets taken down and cuffed. The nice woman is positively gleeful as she tells me about Karen getting tackled. Apparently then, Karen started screaming about suing the cops, getting the FBI involved, the classic Karen stuff. I didn't get to see Karen get taken off to jail, sadly. My bus pulled up and the nice woman helped me over to it, but I was at least glad that she ended up where she deserves. Backstory. I live in a trailer park between a few towns with my mom. We moved here after getting out of some really terrible apartments in my hometown. We've been here for around a year and a half. When we were in the process of moving into our trailer, I ran into my cousin who lives out here and we sort of reconnected, because this was the first time I had seen him since my dad's funeral a couple years prior. Most of my family and friends are in my hometown, and I didn't have anybody else to hang out with, so I've been hanging out with him. Not too long later, his money that he had saved up mysteriously disappeared. He went into a drunken tirade and started accusing people, including me. He interrogated me like a CIA agent. I've never stolen anything from anyone, so I was very heartbroken that he would think I would have done that. Sometime later, he found his money, he accidentally hid it somewhere, and totally forgot about it. He apologized for that, but this was the beginning of a long roller coaster ride of bullcrap. Most of the time when I would go over to his trailer and he was drunk, I felt very, very uncomfortable. When he wasn't in a drunken state, we would usually play games or talk or scroll through our phones, just hanging out and whatnot. My mom never wanted him coming down to our trailer when he was drunk. One night we were hanging out and his dad happened to be there hanging out with us. They were both drunk and they started getting into an argument about a friend of his dad's. I don't remember all the details, but basically they got into a physical altercation and I wanted to take off because I didn't want to be caught in the middle of it. My cousin was being a total jerk to his dad and I decided to leave. My cousin asked me to call 911 on his dad, but I didn't want to be involved. As I was starting to leave, he told me that if I left, I would be dead to him. I was borrowing some movies and games from him, and he was borrowing a movie from me. So I went back to my trailer, and he started texting my mom, cussing her out and being an absolute a-hole. So I took the stuff I was borrowing from him, and I told him I came from my movie and that I'm leaving. He told me to walk outside or he would have broken my movie. I stepped outside, and he threw my movie onto his yard. I picked it up. Luckily, it wasn't damaged. And then I left and we didn't speak for months. Like 4 or 5 months later, he apologized and we made up for a while. But still, he would continue to drink and go into absolute tirades. I would do my best to try to get him calmed down. He would verbally abuse me, tell me to shut up and act like a total psycho, trying to get me angry and playing it off at trying to toughen me up. Most of the time, I wouldn't want to go up there because I didn't want to deal with his drunken tirade. Sorry for the excessive use of the word tirade. Most of the time when I would go up there, I would be dreading it and hoping he would be in a good mood. But now to the main point of the story. This was about a week ago. My mom had just made supper, and I was in my room eating, and he called me clearly drunk, asking me to come and hang out. I told him that I was eating supper and to give me a few minutes to eat and then I would be up. He started guilt-tripping me because he made rice for me and him, saying that he would have to eat it all by himself. And then he decided that he would come down and get me. My mom did not want him down here when he was drunk, so I decided to meet him halfway to stop him. Apparently, he misunderstood me and thought I was in danger, and that's why he was heading down here and tried to turn it all around on me. All he had to do was wait a few minutes and be patient, but I guess that's too tall of an order for him. So when I got up there and sat down, the first thing that happened was he brought out his BB gun and was recklessly waving it around. And he pointed toward me, and he pointed it at my lower area, and I grabbed the barrel and moved it away, and I told him not to point a gun at me. And of course, he acts like I'm in the wrong and started turning it all around on me, being really reckless and narcissistic. Then we got on the subject of my dad. I'm still mourning for my dad. I lost him when I was only 20. And it still hurts, but according to my cousin, I'm a witch for still, quote, whining about my dad. And he starts talking about how he's had loss before, and he said that I don't see him crying about it, clearly not caring at all. Then he tried to tell me that my dad would call me a dummy for still crying over him. My dad was not that kind of person. He was kind and caring and loving. He's basically saying that he knows my dad better than me. My mom wanted me to come back to the trailer because she didn't want me up there when he was drunk. So he followed me down to my trailer anyway, against my mom's wishes. My mom called me when I was a little more than halfway to my trailer and told me to tell my cousin that if he came onto the property drunk, she would call the police, and of course he didn't listen because he's a narcissist. We got into an argument in my yard while we were waiting for the sheriff to come by, and the sheriff did come by. He told him that he's not supposed to be on our yard. We own the trailer, but we do pay lot rent. And he started getting in the cop's face, and I'm seriously surprised he didn't get arrested right then and there. So my cousin suggested that if we're not going to be talking, that I should get his games and movie I was borrowing from him, and I go up there and get the stuff he was borrowing from me. I handed in his stuff, and I was going to follow him up to his trailer to get my stuff. On the way there, I witnessed him knock down a motion sensor light that was on a bus stop that we have in the trailer park for the kids that still go to school. And he told me to not follow him and get a ride with the sheriff. After about a half an hour of the sheriff doing a bit of paperwork and making some phone calls, the sheriff just told me to wait at the trailer and he would go get my movies. He did so, and then the sheriff left. Afterwards, my cousin started sending me and my mom hostile, threatening messages, saying that he would pummel me and my mom and that the blood would not be able to stop flowing. I was sitting in my room and then I started hearing clean noises outside. I ran out to investigate and I seen him running off, and then I seen him running around behind trailers. I stood in the road for a few minutes to see if I could see him, and then I heard more clicking noises coming from behind my trailer. I ran to my yard just in time to see him running between our shed and the neighbor's shed. I shouted for him to get out of my yard. He didn't say anything, but my mom heard me and we called the cops again. They came by and we told them everything that happened, and I told him he had a BB gun because I recognized the clicking sound from the BB gun. He had shot at my mom's bedroom window and blew a small hole into it, breaking it a little. The sheriff asked us if we wanted to press charges, and we said yes. So they handcuffed him, and he was saying that he wasn't here, totally lying to the police, and I told him that was total bullcrap. Apparently the trailer park has dealt with him before and his antics. We have to talk to the cops a few times and talk to the manager, so he's possibly getting evicted. A few days later, my aunt, as my cousin's grandma, started texting my mom saying that if he got arrested, and if her grandson got taken away, that he would never, started texting my mom saying that if he got arrested, and if her grandson got taken away, that she would never forgive us. My cousin had totally lied to my aunt, saying that I threatened to end him and that he didn't have a BB gun. So now I'm never speaking to my aunt ever again because she wants to believe her psychotic, alcoholic grandson's lies. This is all very overwhelming. Sorry if I left out any details, and for any spelling mistakes, this is my very first time posting, and I'm also typing this all out on a phone. Thank you all for listening. I pressed charges against my mother for stalking me and falsely accusing me of being a drug dealer. However, I wanted to minimize my time in court to avoid being near her. The following events are a combination of my account and my father's recollection from 5 years ago. Initially, my father had no idea that my mother had traveled to my state with the intention of stalking me. She had told him she was going on a brief vacation for her mental well-being but didn't disclose her destination. If my father had known her plans, he would have warned me. Over the course of several days, my mother clandestinely followed me and my girlfriend, using her smartphone to capture photos of us. She gained access to our home by using a spare key hidden inside a fake rock. After she returned home, my father noticed her unusually smug demeanor. It was as if she believed she had achieved a victory. However, her jubilant mood quickly dissipated when the police arrived and arrested her on Christmas Day. According to my father, she cried and protested her innocence as she was taken away by law enforcement. The evidence against her was irrefutable. All the incriminating photos were found on her phone, and my father promptly realized the extent of her action. She even made the call accusing me of drug dealing using her own phone, which was easily traced back to her. When confronted with the evidence, my mother broke down into tears and pleaded for mercy. She refused to cooperate and had to be physically moved from the table by the police. No one posted bail for her, and she had to use her own funds to secure her release. She contemplated calling me to beg for help, but seemingly realized I wouldn't come to her aid after what she had done. Consequently, she remained locked up until she could afford her own release. Surprisingly, she didn't attempt to flee. In her mind, she believed she was justified in her actions and felt confident she could persuade a judge to see things her way. Against her lawyer's advice, she decided to represent herself in court. Predictably, this turned out to be a disastrous choice. The trial took place sooner than I expected, and both my girlfriend and I had to fly over to testify against my mother. I stayed only as long as necessary and took the first available flight back. During my presence at the trial, my mother seemed to stare at me incessantly, alternating between a creepy, pleading gaze and intense rage. When my mother took the stand, she delivered a speech explaining why she believed her actions were justified. She asserted that I needed to be taught a lesson for refusing to return home and for prioritizing a cheap girl over her. She attempted to maintain eye contact with me throughout her speech, but the judge repeatedly admonished her for doing so. I left before the sentencing took place. The judge concluded that my mother was mentally unwell, which enraged her. She vehemently argued that she was perfectly sane and simply acting as a concerned mother who resorted to extreme measures to teach me a lesson. My father intervened and corroborated all my accusations, which caused my mother to lash out at him. Guards had to intervene to keep them apart. Initially, the judge had intended to be lenient, but he ultimately decided that my mother needed significant time behind bars. She received a 2-year prison sentence, along with 3 years of probation. When the sentence was handed down, my mother threw a tantrum reminiscent of a toddler. She pounded her fists and cried like a baby, requiring assistants to be removed from the courtroom due to her refusal to cooperate. For my father, the following 2 years were a period of pure bliss without her presence. He made up his mind to divorce her as soon as she was released, intending to serve her the divorce papers on the very day she came home. True to his word, he left the house for good, taking his Airstream trailer and parking it at a friend's place. He spent several months battling my mother in the divorce proceedings, during which more alarming details about her behavior came to light. Eventually, my father emerged victorious and wasted no time in relocating to my state with his trailer. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more captivating stories. Share your own experiences, opinions in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay tuned for more epic tales.